From ancient times until now, human beings have always carried within themselves the same longing, the longing for safety. We believe that if we can hold on to everything, control each step, arrange every outcome, then the unease in our hearts will vanish. We want to know what tomorrow will bring, whether our work will succeed, whether our loved ones will always stay beside us, whether youth will last forever. And then, when no certain answer can be found, the mind begins to sway like a lake disturbed by the wind. In the rhythm of modern life, this illusion of control grows even stronger. We have schedules, plans, phones that remind us every hour, every minute. We feel as if we are masters of time, masters of space, even masters of the future. Yet gradually we realize nothing truly lies within our control. A sudden rain may ruin our plans. An unexpected phone call may change the course of our life. A single blink of an eye, a single broken breath is enough to show us how fragile we truly are. The Buddha once taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. All conditioned things are non-self. Nirvana is peace. Impermanence shows us that anything we cling to will change, but because we forget this truth, we keep holding on, and from that, suffering arises. Suffering does not come from impermanence itself, but from our resistance to impermanence. Take a look at an ordinary day. When the sun is hot, we wish it would soften. When the rain falls, we wish for sunshine. When children cry, we want them to be silent. When they are silent, we worry that something is wrong. The mind never truly rests. It is always being pulled by the need to want this and not want that. What we call control is nothing more than a never-ending chase, and the one who becomes most exhausted is ourselves. It is like a person standing beside a river, trying with both hands to stop the flowing water. The harder they try to block it, to release gently. Imagine the mind as a room. When we are busy locking everything up, stuffing it full, shutting it tightly, the room becomes cramped and suffocating. But when we open the window and let the wind flow in, the room becomes bright, spacious, breathable. Control is a closed lock. Mindfulness is an open door. True safety does not come from fastening 10 more locks, but from trusting the flow of impermanence. Along the path of practice, there is one lesson simple yet profound. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. That is all. Yet when we truly breathe, we realize we have never been able to control the whole of life. The only thing we can really touch is this breath. Safety lies right here, in the present, not in the scenarios we try so hard to hold for the future. When we see clearly the illusion of control, we begin to feel lighter. Instead of stiffening against change, we learn to walk through it with soft steps. Instead of grasping tightly, we learn to touch gently. Instead of straining, we learn to smile. Letting go is not losing, but returning things to their true nature. When we stop imposing, we begin to see the wondrous way life unfolds. And there, in the very moment of release, fear slowly falls away. We discover something strange. Without control, we are still here. Without knowing everything, we still breathe. Without predicting tomorrow, we are still alive today. This present moment is already enough, if we truly dwell in it. When you let go, you are free. When you are free, you are happy. A reminder distilled from the practice of many masters. True safety does not lie in control, but in the ability to open, to trust impermanence, to lean on the breath and return to oneself. This is the first doorway that opens, to recognize the illusion of control and to learn how to walk on the path of agitated. When we try to force it into stillness, our hands disturb it further. But if we sit quietly, allowing the winds to pass, the lake slowly returns to calm. That calm does not come because we controlled it, but because we ceased to struggle. Here, we begin to learn another lesson. Letting go is not failure, but wisdom. In the Diamond Sutra, it is said, "Let the mind arise without dwelling anywhere. Only then can compassion and wisdom reveal themselves. When the mind is no longer bound by the need to know, to grasp, to hold, a certain lightness spreads through us. It is like standing at the riverbank. Instead of trying to stop the water, we allow it to flow. And in that flow, we realize the river resists nothing. It simply is itself, always moving toward the sea." Letting go does not mean turning our backs on life. Letting go is to live fully each moment, without demanding that the moment remain forever. We love someone, but we do not force them to be unchanging. We work wholeheartedly, but we do not insist that results always bend to our will. We care for our family, but we do not imprison ourselves in the feeling of possession. Letting go means recognizing that everything is the meeting of conditions. When it comes, we cherish it. When it goes, we smile. Imagine a person walking on sand. If they walk hurriedly, their footprints press deep and scattered. If they walk with mindfulness, their footprints are light, leaving soft impressions. Our life is the same. When we cling, our steps grow heavy, dragged by the fear of loss. When we learn to let go, our steps become gentle, and even in storms, we do not feel crushed. On long nights, when we're tight by control, wholesome seeds, compassion, patience, joy are free to emerge. And from that very garden, we discover a new life, lighter, more expansive. Thus, from the anxiety of not being able to control, we begin to enter the peace of letting go. This is the turning point. From a mind full of restless worries, we become like the lake after the wind, still, clear, and able to reflect the blue sky. In that very stillness, we begin to see happiness is not found in what we hold on to, but in what we can release. When the mind begins to touch the essence of letting go, we also begin to see more clearly a truth, what has caused our suffering from the very beginning. Why is it so hard for us to release? If we look deeply, we will see that the root is craving. Craving is not only for wealth or power. Craving is also the endless thirst, wanting recognition, wanting not to age, wanting not to fall ill, wanting never to part from loved ones, wanting everything to unfold according to our will. These desires at first glance may seem ordinary, but when we set them as conditions for happiness, that happiness becomes as fragile as mist. The Buddha taught in the Four Noble Truths, craving is the origin of suffering. Craving here is not only romantic love, but attachment, thirst, the refusal to accept reality as it is. It is craving that makes us run endlessly in the circle of samsara, like a thirsty deer chasing the mirage of water in the desert. Let us look at a flower. When it blooms, we wish for it to remain beautiful, to stay forever fresh. But it is precisely this craving that causes our pain, because the flower cannot avoid withering. If we simply admire the flower, knowing it is beautiful in this very moment, we are happy. But if we want the flower to keep today's form,
Praise then feels uneasy the next day when no one notices them. Craving is like a bottomless jar. No matter how much we pour in, it is never full. This does not mean we must reject all desires. Aspirations that incline toward goodness, wishing to practice, to plant wholesome seeds, to help life, are not craving. Craving here means bondage, when we lose our freedom because of endless thirst. When we want without being bound by what we want, that is a wholesome mind. When we are held captive by desire, unable to rest until it is fulfilled, that is craving. There is an old image. A monkey reaches into a jar to grasp a handful of rice. Its hand clenches tightly and cannot withdraw. It does not realize that only by releasing the rice will its hand be free. We are the same. We do not suffer because life has stolen our happiness, but because we cling too tightly to what is impermanent. Letting go of craving does not mean living indifferently or coldly. Letting go of craving is allowing life to live. When we drink a sip of tea, just drink that sip, without demanding it be sweeter or stronger. When we look at someone, simply see them as they are, without forcing them to fit our expectations. When we work, just give ourselves fully in that moment, without binding the work to instant results. A Zen master once reminded, when you are no longer pulled by craving, you begin to know what it means to have enough. To know enough is not to stop growing, but to rest peacefully in each step. The one who knows enough can live in the midst of a noisy market with a serene heart. The one who knows enough can live in a small room with a mind as vast as the sky. Thus, to heal suffering, we must look directly into craving within ourselves. Not to hate it, but to recognize it, to smile at it, and gradually to release. When the flame of craving weakens, our mind becomes cool and fresh, like a forest after the rain. Mind. Many believe that mind is simply what they think, or what they feel, yet in truth, thoughts and emotions are but waves rising on the surface of the ocean. The ocean is not merely waves. Its true nature, in its depths, is stillness, vastness. In the same way, the essence of mind is not fleeting thoughts and illusions, but clarity, stillness, spaciousness. When we sit in meditation, close our eyes, and follow the breath as it flows in and out, we begin to notice the stream of thoughts appearing like endless waves. Some waves rise strong as worry, some arise lightly as a passing notion. Wave after wave, seemingly without end. But if we do not chase after them, if we simply sit and breathe, slowly we recognize there is a quiet space that embraces it all. That is the ground of mind. In the Lankavatara Sutra it is said, the mind is like an illusion, like a dream, like a shadow in a mirror, like the moon reflected in water. When we cling to each reflection, we suffer. When we see them as mere reflections, we smile. Like a child who cries because he cannot catch the moon's image in the water, yet the grown one knows the moon remains in the sky, and so is at ease. Mind is originally spacious and free, yet because of ignorance, we mistake it. We cling. This body is me. This emotion is me. This thought is me. Then we strive to protect them, fearing loss, fearing change. But the truth is, they are all like passing clouds. Clouds may grow heavy, dark and dense, but the sky is never lost. The sky remains vast and open. In the same way, the nature of mind remains luminous, regardless of the endless rise and fall of thoughts. Once, a Zen master held up a mirror and asked his disciple, "What shape does this mirror have?" The disciple replied, it has, and affliction are but passing clouds. Knowing this, we no longer fear, no longer cling. Instead, we rest within that openness itself. When we see the true nature of mind, we suddenly understand. Happiness is never far away. It is not something we must chase after, but something that has always been here, within the quiet presence of this very moment. Like the morning dew, shimmering in sunlight, the essence of mind shines in the same way. Yet if we keep running, we will never see the dew. Only when we pause, listen, and open our eyes from within do we realize that light has never been absent. And from this discovery, a new door opens. Living with the luminous mind, we are no longer victims of craving and illusion. We become free, able to walk through life with each step light and a smile that needs no reason. When we gradually begin to see the nature of the mind, we also start to realize an important truth. True strength does not lie outside, nor is it found in domination, control, or conquering others. True strength arises from the stillness within, from the ability to look deeply and touch the very roots of our own being. It is the strength of understanding, of compassion, of the capacity to let go and flow in harmony with the current of life. The Buddha once taught, "Greater than the conquest of 1,000 armies in battle is the conquest of oneself." Such strength does not boast, does not clamor, yet it has the power to transform suffering at its very root and to open a vast path of freedom. In daily life, we often equate strength with power, with fame, with the ability to silence others. But if we look closely, we will see that these forms of strength are fragile, as easily broken as bubbles in the wind. Power comes and goes. Fame may vanish overnight. Today's pride may turn into tomorrow's sorrow. Those who cling to such outer forms of strength ultimately live in fear and anxiety, for deep down they battles. Strength is not stretching oneself tall to overshadow others, but the ability to see through the ego, to recognize the smallness of the self, and to merge into the vastness of the universe. Look at a flower. The flower does not strain itself to bloom, does not fight to be more radiant than the others. It simply blossoms quietly in the right moment, under the sunlight in gentle rain. And it is precisely this natural, effortless unfolding that makes it beautiful. True strength is the same. It is the natural state of the mind when no longer bound by greed, anger, or delusion. When the mind is clear, strength shines forth like light spreading everywhere, not displayed, not sought after, yet still touching all those around. In the scriptures, the Buddha often spoke of the mind as unshakable like a mountain, clear as the autumn lake, vast as the sky. This is the image of true strength. An unmoving mind does not mean a heart without feeling, but a heart not swept away by turbulence. A clear mind does not mean the absence of emotions, but the ability to behold every emotion with wisdom and compassion. And a vast mind does not mean withdrawal from life, but the embrace of all within boundless compassion. One who possesses true strength does not impose, does not judge, does not seek to control. They are present like a lamp, shining light without force. Wherever they go, they bring peace, for their energy does not come from possession, but from love. When you look into their eyes, you see stillness, a quiet sky in which all the storms within you also begin to settle. Therefore, if we are searching for true strength, we need not look far. It is not found in metals, nor in the number of people who praise us, but in each breath, each step, each to search. Everything we need is already within us. From that place of dwelling, we can live fully, love wholly, share generously, and radiate peace to all directions. When we begin to realize that true strength lies within, in stillness and wisdom, another question softly arises. Why do certain sufferings keep repeating? Why do some cycles of life make us feel as though we are walking forever on the same old path, even when we long to turn toward another way? The answer lies in the concept of karma, but not as a fixed sentence, rather as an ongoing dialogue between ourselves and the universe, between the seeds we sow and the fruits we reap. Karma, in its original Sanskrit meaning, simply means action. Every thought, word, and gesture we make is like a seed falling into the soil of life. When the right conditions come, these seeds sprout and bear fruit. Karma is not some external force imposed upon us. It is the echo of what we have done, thought, and planted in the past. Like a dialogue, it always replies to us in the very language we once sent out. Imagine a still pond. Each of our actions and thoughts is like a pebble thrown into the water. The ripples expand outward and eventually return to the very shore where we stand. That is karma, subtle, yet precise responses from the universe. If we throw with anger, the ripples will surge violently and strike back at our own hearts. If we throw with love, the water will sing in gentle circles that widen endlessly. Many fear the word karma, imagining it as punishment, but in truth, karma is not a verdict. It is an opportunity. It is like a patient friend reminding us, listen, be awake. Karma does not come to break us, but to teach us, to help us grow. And like any conversation, we can choose how to respond. If we respond with awareness, with change, the dialogue wrote, if the letter is filled with anger, we will feel its burning flame again. If the letter is filled with compassion, we will receive its gentle warmth. And the wonder is, we can always write anew, always send new letters. In life, karma often reveals itself in relationships. Some people appear so we may learn forgiveness. Some come so we may learn patience. Some cause us pain, yet through them we discover the strength of letting go. Every meeting, every interaction is a karmic dialogue. If we respond unconsciously, that dialogue repeats in endless circles. But if we respond with awareness, the dialogue shifts direction and opens into a new chapter. Karma is not rigid fate, but the living rhythm of cause and effect. Like planting rice seeds, they cannot bloom into lotuses. Yet in planting, we may always choose what seeds to sow. And even if we have already sown something bitter, we may still plant countless sweet seeds to soften the taste. This means we are never locked within the past. The dialogue continues, and our reply today can change the entire cadence of the conversation. There is a beautiful image in the scriptures. Karma is like a wheel that turns, but the awakened mind is like the axle that may bring it to stillness. This means we cannot erase all that has been sown, yet we can govern how we walk forward. Awareness is the wise silence in the midst of dialogue. When we no longer react out of ignorance, we stop pouring oil into old flames. And in that moment, the wheel begins to slow, opening a space for freedom. Thus, to engage deeply in dialogue with karma, we must learn to listen.
Listen to the messages hidden in suffering. Listen to the lessons woven into joy. Listen even to the quiet whispers guiding us back to the right path. Only when we truly listen can we respond with wisdom, with compassion.
Drops of water falling upon a stone. A single drop does no harm, yet thousands upon thousands through the years can bore through even the hardest rock. Karma is the same. A fleeting moment of anger may dissolve, but if we nurture it day after day, it becomes a mighty current sweeping us away. The subtlety of karma also lies in its presence within every moment, even before we notice it. An impatient glance, a careless word, a selfish thought. All are seeds cast upon the soil of life. Sometimes the result does not come at once. It waits. It grows quietly, like a seed beneath the earth. We pass by. We think we have forgotten. But one day it breaks through the soil, standing green before our eyes. The Buddha once taught, "Do not disregard a small evil, thinking it will not harm." Water, drop by drop, fills the jar. The fool, piling up small evils, becomes full of them. This teaching reminds us that karma overlooks nothing, not even the most subtle of acts. It is as delicate as the breath, as constant as the heartbeat. It is always present, always recording, and thus we must live with refined mindfulness, seeing clearly what we are planting in each passing moment. In the same way, do not underestimate a small good. A smile offered, a hand reaching out in comfort, a spark of compassion rising in the heart. All are wholesome seeds. Like the morning sun, even a single ray can scatter the cold mist. A small act of goodness, if nurtured, can open the way toward a radiant future. The subtlety of karma also reveals itself in the immediate reflection within the mind. When greed arises, we feel the constriction of the heart, subtlety of each moment's choice that shapes the colors of our garden. Some may ask, if karma is so subtle, must I worry over every gesture, every thought? The answer is, there is no need for worry, only for mindfulness. Worry itself is a form of karma, making the mind heavy and confined. But if we breathe slowly, observe gently, we will gradually see each thought as it arises. We will begin to know which seeds to nourish and which to release. This is the path of freedom within each moment. The Buddha once said, "Mind precedes all phenomena." Mind is their master. Mind creates them. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, suffering follows, like the wheel following the ox's hoof. If with a pure mind one speaks or acts, happiness follows, like a shadow that never leaves. This is the deepest teaching on the subtlety of karma. Everything begins with mind, with the smallest of thoughts. Seeing this, we will live more carefully, more lovingly, and more freely. Thus, karma is not something distant or abstract, but something alive in every moment, in every breath. It is subtle, quiet, yet steady and certain. If we cultivate mindfulness, we will know to plant seeds of compassion, seeds of wisdom, so that day by day, month by month, the garden of our heart will grow green and fresh, blossoming with fragrant flowers and sweet fruit. After seeing the subtlety of karma, that every thought, every word, every action sows a seed and creates the current of life, we may begin to feel a deep need within the heart to return to balance. For without balance, we are easily swept away, either toward one shore of suffering or toward the other shore of excessive indulgence. Only when we stand in the middle, dwelling in the middle way, unattended, the boat will capsize. But if we loosen the oars gently, take a deep breath, and listen to the wind, we can adjust and bring the boat back to balance. An essential key to returning to balance is recognition. We need to clearly see when we are leaning. Just like the tightrope walker, if they cannot feel their body shifting, they will easily fall. When anger arises, we may ask, "Is my mind leaning?" When we crave something too much, we may look inward. Am I being pulled away? Simply seeing it gives us the chance to return. The Buddha once taught, the wise keep the mind balanced, like a scale that does not tip to either side. This reminds us that balance does not come from forcing, but from the wisdom of recognition. The wise do not let themselves be carried away by extremes, but stand firmly in the middle way. Balance also means knowing how to rest. In modern life, many are swept into a hurried rhythm, running from one task to another, with the mind always leaning toward doing while forgetting resting. When we do not rest, we become exhausted, and when exhausted, we lose balance. That is why a slow breath, an unhurried step, a pause amidst busyness, these are small bridges that lead us back. Balance also shows itself in the way we meet joy and sorrow. Normally, when joy comes, we want to hold on. When sorrow comes, we want to push it away. But both attitudes throw us off balance. If we can welcome joy with gratitude, then release it when it passes. If we can see sorrow as a cloud that will dissolve, we will not be tilted. Joy will not intoxicate us. Sorrow will not drown us. This is true freedom. Returning to balance is also returning to ourselves. When the mind is pulled toward the past, it leans into regret and remorse. When the mind is pulled toward the future, it leans into worry and fear. Balance is returning to this balance. We are always shaken. With balance, we are at rest. And from there, we can continue walking the path of liberation. Emptiness. Two words that may sound abstract and distant, yet in truth are intimate and present in every breath of life. When the Buddha spoke of emptiness, he was not pointing to a cold void, nor to a denial of all existence. On the contrary, emptiness is an opening, an infinite, vast foundation where all phenomena arise and dissolve like clouds drifting across the sky. Looking at clouds, we see they have no fixed form, no place to grasp, and they never remain still. Yet precisely because of their formlessness, clouds can transform into rain, into mist, into snow, nourishing and sustaining the whole earth. Likewise, emptiness is not a meaningless void, but the limitless potential for all phenomena to manifest. When the mind learns to rest in emptiness, the stream of life no longer appears frightening. All upheavals, all rises and falls, all gains and losses become but small ripples on the surface of a vast lake. They come and they go, leaving no trace behind. And within every change, there is something unchanging, a deep, silent ground, unborn, undying, neither increasing nor decreasing. The Heart Sutra declares, "Form is emptiness,
emptiness is form. This body, these feelings, these thoughts, all appear in forms and shapes, but when we look deeply, we see they have no self-nature. They arise through conditions, and when conditions disperse, they cease. In daily life, we often cling tightly to what we believe to be real. We think happiness lies in a relationship, in a stable job, in some recognition. But when these things shift or disappear, we suffer. We feel insecure. We struggle in loss. The cause is not the event itself, but the grasping of the mind. When we forget emptiness, we look at life through the eyes of bondage. But what
Existence is inseparable from our parents, from society, from nature, from innumerable causes stretching back into the past. To see this is to begin living with gratitude, with humility, and with an open heart. Understanding emptiness, we also learn to let go of rigid notions about ourselves. We no longer insist, I must be this, or I cannot be that. We see ourselves as fluid as water, able to flow through the countless forms of life. When criticized, we do not shatter. When praised, we do not become arrogant. When facing hardship, we know it is but a passing cloud. When fortune comes, we do not cling, for it too will pass. The mind resting in emptiness is like the vast sky, embracing both storms and sunshine. Some may fear that living in emptiness means becoming cold, detached from the world. But in truth, it is the opposite. When grasping falls away, the heart grows lighter and more spacious. From within that openness, compassion and wisdom naturally arise. We love without attachment. We help without expectation. We live fully without being entangled in nets of bondage. This is genuine freedom. A Zen master once said, "When you see everything as flow, you no longer crave to hold, nor fear to lose. You simply live, and live wholly in each breath." This is not a distant philosophy, but a practice that can begin in ordinary moments. Drinking a cup of tea, we recognize that tea too is impermanent. The fragrance will fade, the warmth will cool, the cup will one day be empty. Seeing this, we cherish each sip of tea, and likewise each moment of life. Emptiness ultimately is not a concept to be discussed, but an experience to be realized. It is like the moon reflected on the lake. One may point to the moon, but its light truly touches us only when we stop, grow still, and
It is the rain, the soil, the sunshine, the wind, and the tireless hands of the farmer who nurtured the tree. Within that leaf is also the cloud that once drifted across the sky, dissolving into rain to nourish the roots. When we drink a sip of water, we are not only drinking water, we are drinking the cloud, the sky, the river that has poured all of itself into reaching this cup. Looking deeply into a grain of rice, we can see the entire cosmos present there. For the grain of rice is not just rice, it is the earth, the rain, the sunlight, the sweat of countless beings who sowed, tended, and harvested. This truth awakens us. We have never been a separate self. This body, this mind, this life are all nourished by countless causes and conditions. We breathe this breath thanks to the trees that release it into the air. We walk upon the ground because of layers of earth formed over millions of years. We eat a bowl of rice thanks to the toil of countless strangers who planted, harvested, and milled it. As the Buddha once said, all things arise due to causes and conditions. All things cease when causes and conditions disperse. Understanding this, our hearts fill with gratitude, and the arrogance of the separate self begins to dissolve. In the stream of life, we also realize that every joy and sorrow we experience is deeply connected to others. A gentle word may soothe a heart drowning in despair. A careless gesture may cast someone into shadow. Like ripples spreading across the lake, every thought, every action, every breath we take touches this world. When we smile at a stranger, that smile may become the light that warms their entire day. And when we plant seeds of anger, that tension may ripple outward to many others. Understanding interdependence, we walk with mindfulness, with responsibility, with love. Interbeing also teaches us the fragility and preciousness of each moment, because nothing can stand alone when also only a product of interbeing. This body is composed of earth, water, air, and fire. This mind is shaped by memory, experience, education, and culture. We are not a fixed, separate entity. We are the convergence of myriad conditions, and we will dissolve when those conditions disperse. Recognizing this, we no longer obsess over protecting the small self. We realize we are but a current within the vast ocean of life. And precisely because of that, we can let go lightly. We can smile. We can open our hearts to embrace all things. A Zen master once said, "A flower cannot bloom by itself. It needs rain, it needs sunlight, it needs earth, it needs air, it needs the entire universe." Human beings are the same. We cannot exist without each other. When we deeply understand this truth, loneliness fades. Even in the stillness of long nights, even in moments of seeming isolation, we know we are being supported by countless conditions. The earth is holding us, the sky is sheltering us, and all beings are sharing breath with us. Living with the wisdom of interbeing, we naturally become humble. We no longer see ourselves as the center, no longer cling tightly to the ego. Instead, we open more, love more, cherish more. We learn to plant wholesome seeds, knowing each seed we plant touches not only our life, but spreads across the infinite web of existence. And so, in each mindful step, we walk not only for ourselves, but for our parents, our ancestors, our descendants, and even for those we have never met. With each deep breath, we breathe for the forest, for the atmosphere, for all beings who share this life. Interbeing becomes a gentle reminder that we are never alone, and that true happiness can never be found without connection. After seeing clearly the truth that everything exists in mutual interdependence, another veil of illusion also begins to dissolve within us. The illusion of suffering. The illusion of control is like trying to hold water in our hands. The tighter we grip, the more it slips away, and the more weary we become. But if we learn to relax our hands, we will feel the water naturally flow through, cool, gentle, nourishing us in every moment. Life is the same. When we let go of the idea of control, we truly begin to touch freedom. There is a paradox. The more we want to control, the more anxious we become. For deep within, we know that whatever we try to hold on to ultimately lies beyond our grasp. It is this hidden anxiety that keeps us tense, fearful of loss, unable to fully enjoy the present. Yet when we pause, take a deep breath, and gently release the thought of must hold on, a rare serenity begins to arise. We realize we do not need to control, because this universe is already moving in its own way, perfect, natural, never straying from the path of dependent arising. The Buddha once used the image of a raft to teach us. To cross a river, we need the raft. But once we have reached the other shore, if we continue carrying the raft upon our shoulders, we will suffer. The raft here is the illusion of control. At certain times, it can serve as a useful means, But if we cling to it forever, we lose our freedom. Only when we set down the raft can we truly walk with ease. In life, we often find ourselves caught in the cycle of expectation and disappointment. We expect everything to unfold as we wish, for everyone to act as we desire. Yet reality never follows our molds, and so disappointment and sorrow arise. But when we understand the nature of dependent arising, we begin to learn transformation. We no longer insist on wielding control, but instead, we attune ourselves to the flow. Like a musician who knows how to listen to their instrument, and also to the ones playing alongside, so that the shared music becomes harmonious. Letting go of the
It cannot control the direction of the wind, but it can spread its wings and fly with it. Our life is the same. We cannot command the universe, but we can choose to move in harmony with its rhythm. And it is within this harmony that we discover peace. Letting go of the illusion of control also opens us to a vast compassion. When we no longer seek to impose our will upon others, we begin to listen, to understand. Love, friendship, or any relationship can only bloom when nourished by freedom. For as the Buddha taught, you may love someone, but you cannot possess them. Possession is the root of suffering, while letting go is the root of true love. And so, with each breath, we learn to transform. Transformation, not through force or control, but through mindfulness and gentle release. We walk with ease, knowing that every step need not lead to some destination, but simply be complete in the very moment itself. Then, little by little, the illusion of control will dissolve like morning mist, leaving behind the clear blue sky within our heart. In the previous passages, we have walked through the journey of recognition, of letting go, of returning to balance, and of seeing the truth about the illusion of control. When that door closes, another door opens, leading us into the vast realm of faith in the midst of ignorance. There, a quiet question arises. When we no longer cling to control, when everything seems to sink into boundless darkness, what shall we rely upon? In ignorance, meaning in not knowing, within the mist of life, human beings often stumble, restless and uncertain. We tremble before the future, we are unsettled by change, and we lose ourselves in the whirlpool of countless possibilities. Yet it is precisely there that faith appears, like a small lamp shining in the night. The Buddha once taught, faith is the mother of all virtues. Faith is not blind belief. Safety. We will never grow. Ignorance at times is the fertile ground where faith and letting go are cultivated. In the scriptures, the Buddha once compared faith to the hand that leads us to the other shore. On this shore are ignorance, suffering, and restlessness. On the far shore are awakening and peace. The boat to cross the river is the Dharma, but to step onto the boat, we need faith. Without faith, we linger endlessly on the shore of suffering, unwilling to depart. Faith, therefore, is not a vague consolation. It is the very force that urges us to step forward. And when faith is present, we realize that even within ignorance, there is light. The night cannot completely extinguish the sun. It can only temporarily obscure it. Faith is the remembrance that the sun is still there, even when we cannot see it. We do not need to see everything. We only need to keep a small flame alive in our hearts. A Zen master once said, "When you no longer know where to go, stop and breathe." The breath is the compass of the soul. Faith in ignorance is like this. When nothing is certain, when there is nothing to cling to, we return to the breath. Each breath is a step along the invisible path. From this very return, simple and sincere, faith arises. Faith does not mean we deny ignorance, nor that we try to paint a false certainty. On the contrary,
Faith gives us the courage to face ignorance, to smile within not knowing, to place our hand into the hand of life and allow it to guide us. Like a child holding a mother's hand in the dark, the child does not see the path, but it trusts the hand that leads, and thus the fear fades away. In daily life, we are the same. So many times we must decide without knowing the outcome. So many times we must move forward amidst uncertainty. If we wait only for certainty, we will remain forever stuck. But if we trust, we are able to truly live. Faith does not guarantee we will never stumble,
Reach the shore. And thus, in ignorance, we are no longer alone. Faith is the bridge that carries us through the darkness toward the light. It does not promise we will never face hardship, but it whispers gently, no matter what, you can still go on. In this silence, place your hand upon your heart and listen to the tender rhythm of life. It is proof that even when we do not know what is to come, there is a pulse sustaining us. Faith in ignorance is this very acceptance of the rhythm, allowing it to guide us step by step through the mist of life. After passing through the veils of ignorance and learning how to nurture trust in the darkness, we are led into a space quieter, deeper, a place where words come to rest, where only silence remains. And right here, we begin to recognize a new kind of strength, the strength of silence. Silence is not merely the absence of sound. Silence, in the deeper meaning of the path, is the vast ground upon which all sounds arise and dissolve. It is like the sky quietly holding the drifting clouds, like the still lake reflecting the vast expanse above. In that silence, there is no need to explain, no need to prove, no need to resist or to persuade anyone. We simply need to be present. And that presence itself is the most powerful of all utterances. There were times when the Buddha did not directly answer his disciples' questions. He remained silent. And in that very pause, the listener was invited to contemplate, to seek the answer from the depths within. For there are truths that words can never fully contain. Silence is the doorway through which intuition and wisdom enter. In modern life, we are surrounded by noise, voices, music, notifications, news. Our minds become like a lake constantly disturbed by stones thrown in, never given the chance to settle before another ripple arises. That is why silence becomes a precious medicine. When we grant ourselves a moment of quiet, we allow the mind to return to its original state, Depth, like the bottom of the lake, untouched by the winds above. The strength of silence is not meant for us to escape or withdraw from life. On the contrary, it allows us to be more fully present. Only when we are truly silent can we truly listen. Listen to others not only with our ears, but with our hearts. Listen to ourselves, not only through thoughts, but through deep compassion. From there, every connection becomes more genuine, more enduring. In silence, we also see more clearly the nature of emotions. In anger, when placed into silence, gradually dissolves like mist in the morning sun. A sorrow, when held within silence, transforms into gentle understanding. Silence is like an open palm, holding everything without grasping. Through the practice of silence, we learn that we need not rush to react to everything. We can pause, take a breath, and let silence speak for us. Often, it is the absence of reply that carries the deepest answer. For such silence is not indifference, but wisdom. The wisdom that sees all justifications as unnecessary. The scriptures say, in silence, the wise one finds peace. This peace does not come from avoidance, but from letting go of the compulsion to assert the self.
when we no longer need to prove ourselves, no longer need to cling to right or wrong, a vast space naturally opens. That very space is silence. And you will see, from silence arises a strength both gentle and unshakable. It does not shout, it does not display, yet it is enough to dissolve tension, enough to calm the storms within. Like a single drop of water falling into a still lake, just a brief moment, but its ripples spread without end. In life, we will encounter countless upheavals, words, judgments. But remember, amid all the mind, when we recognize the unmoving stillness at the depth of being, only then can we reach out and touch another with a heart no longer filled with craving or expectation. From that moment, connection becomes a joy, not a burden. The Buddha once taught, see everyone as your mother, as your father, as your child, as your brother and sister. That teaching is not only a reminder of compassion, but also a key that opens the door of connection when we recognize interbeing, that we cannot exist apart from life, that all people share the same breath, the same flow, then naturally, a deep joy arises within. This joy does not come from what others give us. It does not depend on praise or blame, gain or loss. It comes from a simple truth. We and they are not two separate entities. We see ourselves in them, and we see them in ourselves. Just like a drop of water in the ocean, though it appears distinct in form, in essence, it never leaves the sea. Observe this. When we smile at someone and they smile back, in that brief instant, a strange joy appears. That joy does not come from possessions, nor from the satisfaction of ego. It comes from a deep resonance, a touching of one another beyond words. This is the joy of connection. In the modern world, we often mistake connection for social networks, for numbers of friends and followers. But true connection is far simpler. Sometimes it is just sitting side by side in silence, sharing the same space. Sometimes it is listening completely without interruption. Sometimes it is the meeting of eyes that need no explanation. In those very moments, joy arises, deep and enduring. When we truly connect, we no longer feel lonely. Loneliness is born of separation, of the false belief that we are an isolated self, carrying everything alone. But when we see that we are part of a vast web, walls of separation, like two streams flowing into one river, connection happens without effort, without noise, gentle yet certain. If you pay attention, you will see, when we live in true connection, fear gradually dissolves. We no longer fear loss because we know that everything in life is interwoven and sustaining one another. We no longer fear isolation because we know that each step is embraced by Mother Earth, each breath nourished by the air. And in this trust, we smile at peace. The joy of connection is also the ground of healing, for every pain carries within it a trace of separation. When we feel cut off, we suffer. But when we reconnect with ourselves, with others, with life, we are restored. Just like a broken branch, once rejoined to the trunk, it can again turn green and flourish. Finally, we realize connection is not just a part of life, it is the very essence of life. All beings exist through interdependence, leaning on one another to be. Our joy cannot be separate from the joy of others, just as personal happiness cannot be apart from collective happiness. When we see this clearly, the joy of connection becomes a source of nourishment, inexhaustible. Therefore, each time you smile, know that this smile is not yours alone. It belongs to the whole stream of life. And each time you listen, know that your listening opens the door of connection where joy quietly blooms. After having walked through the joy of connection, where we recognize the nature of interbeing and the truth that we rely on one another to exist, the path quietly opens to one final step: right effort, also called Chan Tin Tun. This is not the kind of effort born from struggle, nor the tense striving to reach for something beyond our grasp. It is a gentle, supple diligence grounded in mindfulness. In daily life, we often confuse effort with forcing, with the craving to achieve results, to surpass others.
Wisdom. Right effort means nourishing the wholesome so that it may grow, while gently letting go of the unwholesome before it takes root and dominates the mind. This is not a battle of strain, but a tender caretaking, like a gardener who knows when to cut away weeds and when to water flowers and fruit trees. Amid the flow of impermanence, right effort keeps us from being swept away. It steadies us before the waves of emotions, guarding us from extremes, whether sinking into passivity or clinching into overexertion. It is the middle way, where we neither flee from life nor cling to it. We live, yet are not bound. We act, yet are not enslaved by results. If you observe carefully, you will see, whenever we force ourselves, the mind grows tense. But when we act with sincerity and fluidity, even the smallest task, sweeping the floor, washing the dishes, caring for a loved one, becomes an act of liberation. Thus, right effort is not measured by grand achievements, but by attitude. An attitude of mindfulness, wholeness, free from grasping and competition. A Zen master once said, "The miracle is not to walk on water or fly in the air, but to walk upon the earth." Right effort is the return to that very simplicity. It is the fullness of life in each step, each breath, each loving gaze. When we live this way, wisdom naturally blossoms and faith naturally deepens. Someone may ask, how can one sustain right effort amid impermanence, when life keeps shifting, when sorrow and challenge arise again and again? The answer is this: lean into impermanence itself. Let it be the gentle reminder that every sorrow will pass, that every joy is not fixed. Seeing this, we no longer fear, no longer clutch. We make effort not to resist impermanence, but to live peacefully in its embrace. In the light nirvana.